It's the holiday spirit. Whoop-dee-doo.
Tony Caravan.
You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
You got it. And away we go. It is Monday, the 8th of November. And the last two digits of the year are 21. Whether it's 1521 or 2021 depends on your vantage point. Some are saying, I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, no. Well, I'm just talking about life and the way things are.
The only station that matters.
You got it. No coffee today. Green tea and what's in the mug is in the mug with like a couple of ice cubes. It's all I had. I could have made coffee. I didn't feel like doing it. I thought I'd try the green tea, even though there's sugar in it. But I don't believe there's any fructose, whatever. A little wheezing. I had a good night's sleep. Cough out that VOCs from sleeping in a small room. Even though I got my Arm & Hammer baking soda thing that we could, the air could pass through it. It's supposed to clean the air for 30 days. And I've got my little mini charcoal air filter fan thing that's supposed to at least take some of those particulates out. Of course, not the microscopic ones and not really the VOCs. And I spray Lysol in the room to help with get rid of some bacteria and virus. Though I would really like to have, I used to have these, this thing, and it's kind of early for me to.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Could be babbling about this. But, by the way, it's 4:57 a.m. Eastern. What did we decide? It's Eastern Standard Time now? I don't know. Remember yesterday it was so it was gray, trying to make a definition of it from Google. Anyway, whatever it is, it's Eastern Time. We're just going to call that ET, right? Extraterrestrial time. And anyway, I used to have this really neat air cleaner. It was about, 2 feet tall. It had a charcoal filter, a HEPA filter, a UV light in it, and some other thing that you could clean. The other stuff you would have to replace. And I had that in a basement because I had this basement condo I built in this last building. Well, not this last one. This was 2 buildings ago. The one where I lost all my stuff, and that's a long story. We're not going to get into it. And so that kept that room, it had a window, but it was a basement type of window. Well insulated, but I had hermetically sealed the room because it was in a basement. Had like a grayish white carpet. Everything about that room was just, when you walked in it was looked like a condo. The bathroom was tiled. Night white tile. Everything was bright since it was a basement. It was white walls. It was white tile, very light carpeting. And there was just this little, one of those little windows at the top of a basement type of thing. And, but that was just enough natural light to keep that room light. And I had an exercise gym thing in there that you could do multiple, exercises with. I had like a queen size bed, queen or king, I think it was, big screen TV. At one point I had my computer desk and stuff down there because I practically lived in it. But then we remodeled the upstairs and moved the offices upstairs. Anyway, that's that. And there's no reason to talk about that.
Channel check. Left channel. Left channel.
So let's just get right into it. Yesterday I forgot. I'm going to start with the grow room. And remember, I don't think I showed this yesterday. And I'm pretty sure I didn't. And what you can see, again, the color's off because I intentionally messed with the tint because I've got grow lights on, which are like these bright, reddish, orangey type of things that totally make seeing anything impossible. And there are also some of those fungus gnat type things, which I ordered some stuff from Walmart. They have the neem spray that really is successful at killing them, and it's not damaging to the body. In fact, people use neem. It's an Indian, cure-all, right, from India, right? The neem tree is the local pharmacy, some refer to it as. But anyway, as you can see that in the background, the radishes those leaves at least are blooming. The speckles and stuff you see on them is just dirt from me putting some extra soil in there. I put some, And in the foreground, and whether or not it's going to take, you had previously seen those in one of those like 6-pack starter things, where the way I start seeds in those little tiny containers. There's like 6 little cubicles or whatever. And so that is oregano, which I want to see if I can grow some fresh oregano in there. Over to the right, I just put some more catgrass seeds in there. We'll see if they take. Anyway, that's just follow-up as I always do on a thing that I forget from the previous day's show. Such a fast talker. Anyway, season's greetings. ROCKFLUX 11/8/21. Everything in moderation. The title says, underneath the title card, which 'tis the season, is isolationism the future? Consumerism versus celebration? Is there a difference? And what's next? Or another way of saying that, if I can get up without destroying things, because I put this on today. Let me get rid of the title card. Then what? And I've managed to take off the 5 pounds that I had put on, according to my scale today. So I'm going to go for a walk, which will hopefully negate anything that I eat or do today and any lack of exercise I may have tomorrow. We might as well jump right into the weather.
The Weather Watch forecast.
And again, as I have predicted, and you can see how things work, this whole left to right thing, that those clouds have actually completely left the ones that were in the remaining southeast and some in the northeast. Except for a little bit up there on the Canadian border, in extreme northern New England. That I'm not sure. They may be noctilucent clouds, but I just can't imagine them being down in Mexico and all those places too. So, just not sure. And if I had more viewers, I'd say, hey, viewers, somebody out there tell me what those blue clouds are. There's a swath of clouds across, coming in from southeast Nevada across the plains. But like I mentioned yesterday, if you look closely, you could kind of see the lights, I guess that's the Vegas Strip, coming through those clouds. So those clouds, and I don't know if that's Idaho up there. Try to get my states right. Remember when I was a kid, putting together the puzzle of the United States in some kind of doctor's office or something, those wooden things they used to have. But whatever the case may be, when you can see the lights coming through, it's just basically clouds. And again, the Pacific Northwest, man, cloudy weather, rain, and stuff like that. That's all they really know over there. And actually, that's not Nevada. That's not the Vegas Strip. Let me try to get. Where the hell is California? Let's see. There's Baja, California. I don't know what the hell that is. That's the Mormon state. That's Utah, right? That's got some clouds in it. Had to think there for a while. Tax the old brain. Anyway, in my neck of the woods, as I say all the time, it's the same old thing over and over. It is saying that it's 37 degrees outside, so the temperature has risen. And it's going to drop to about 36 before it's all said and done. Sunrise today, 6:53 a.m. here on the eastern, mid-Atlantic states on this eastern side, not at the East Coast. It'll be a little bit sooner than that. But it's supposed to be sunny here today and 63 in the overnight, 43 Tuesday. Sunny again, 64 in the overnight, 46. Wednesday, partly sunny or partly cloudy. Depends if you're a glass half full, half empty type of person. Dropping down into the high 50s, staying in the 40s overnight. Thursday, cloudy, possibility of rain, my prediction. 57 and then 50 overnight. That's because there's so much cloud cover. Remember, heat rises, but if there's heavy cloud cover, it's not going anywhere. And then Friday, I guess all that trapped moisture or whatever, there's a chance of thunderstorms. So my job today is, unfortunately, I haven't gone up there in several days. I have to go up to the attic. I have to go across the street to the hardware store and buy some caulking, preferably something that has, is as waterproof as possible.
The Weather Watch forecast.
And patch a few of my problem areas. My goal is to slow these drips down to a trickle, and get through the winter. Because I told you my master plan is I'm literally going to take the Sawzall and the power saw, and I'm going to saw open a hole on both sides of my roof, both problem areas. Because on the one side, on the side above my bedroom, which I'm concerned very much about, I noticed those boards, the tiles have apparently just completely blown off. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to saw that wood off, open that up, and build like a trapdoor. And I have an idea so that it doesn't leak. In other words, I'm going to buy shingle material. And the way in which I put the hinges, it's going to be, in other words, I'm going to build the door in place. And this will maybe be something we'll do on the show. It'll be a DIY thing. So I'll video do it. But I have the idea in my mind. I'll just briefly give it to you, So I'm going to saw open this area that for some reason that I put all this effort into, and a couple of $100 worth of various materials to stop it to leak, and it just will not leak. But I noticed that the wood, I can almost press on the wood, and the wood is like, it's not soggy. It's like it's rotting out in that spot because there's so much water being trapped there. So I have to replace that with good wood, good solid wood, and planks. And fortunately, they built this roof with planks. So it's not going to be as hard as, as it sounds. And so at the top, I'm going to imagine taking a plank of wood, right? It's only going to be about this big. I mean, the space between, imagine like the width of insulation, okay? That's how, this is the part of the roof, and it's slanted. Well, I'm going to open up an area so big because the rest of it's in pretty good shape. It's not leaking. And I'm going to put hinges, okay, on a piece, on just a single plank, a 1x6, say, right? It will fit between these two rafters, but will be connected from the outside. But remember, I'm going to open up a big space first, right? And so I'll put hinges. I'll stick my head out. I'll be safe because I'll be standing in the attic. See, that's the thing. It's not like I'm going to be on the roof. This is the whole thing because it's impossible to get up there. It's like 4 stories. So I figured the only way to do this on the other side, well, I get into that. If you're interested, DIY here, again,
The only station that matters.
well, that doesn't really cover it, but it's
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
variety is what I'm saying. It's the spice of life. So I will build the door in place. Now, the hardest part will be the final piece of the door, how to get that in. Right? And covered with a shingle. And that will be the challenge. But I don't believe it'll be a challenge, an impossible dream challenge. What'll have to be done, and I don't have one, but I'm going to have to get one, is one of those things that you drill, the screws you put in. I don't know what they call that. When you, like I say, I've got holes in my brain, my frickin' brain. I'm not afraid to admit it. At least that's I think what this means here. What does it say on my brain CT scan? Scattered white matter hypodensities likely representing small vessels, white matter ischemic change. Though there's no acute intracranial abnormality. Soft tissue lesions of the scalp and sebaceous cyst being most common. Soft lesions, well, that's no big deal. Scalp is scalp. But the osteoma on the right mastoid, that's kind of scary. That's a tumor. There's a weird thing about that one, though, is I read up on it. It said it could require surgery or ibuprofen sometimes takes it out, but they don't know why. But see, ibuprofen's no good for your kidney and liver, and I had like that kidney stone operation, and that was like a big thing, and I try to keep my kidneys, functioning at about up in the 97, like the last one was 97. Anything 60 or below is moderate kidney disease. I try to keep it around 100. That's what I want anyway. And I want those AST numbers, the liver numbers, to be up, and they're in the right spot, and they're okay too. The damn thing about those Tylenol and ibuprofens, it's like, they tell you take a baby aspirin every day for your heart, or, aspirin's a wonder drug. And I've never abused pain pills in any way, or even aspirins. But aspirin was always my go-to, and it always worked for me because I didn't take them often. But Tylenol, when I discovered Tylenol, I realized, boy, that got rid of pain. But when I was popping Tylenol to get rid of the tooth pain, my liver enzymes or whatever the heck it was like got way out. It was within a fairly short period of time, my liver was looking pretty bad. So it's like, what is there? So they created these, for people who get serious pain, they started to go to the poppy, right? The poppy fields. But then these goofy loonies abuse those pain pills, right? And so now the doctors won't prescribe them for you. But they don't affect your liver, but then their side effect is they make you constipated. So... And nobody wants constipation. It's like I'd rather have a headache or a toothache than constipation. Really, I mean seriously. Okay, we're way off the deep end now. Let's get into the news. This is just a brief thing. Google News is below this thing. But I had to bring this up because this just drives me crazy. This is on Google. Corrected the Hill top stories. Okay, 4 billion results in 57 seconds. And this is part of the news. I brought this up intentionally. I don't care about that top Republicans bullish on 22. That's like nonsense. They're fools. So Forget about 2022. Forget about politics. All right, I'll move over here so I can. No, there's a couple of things here that have nothing to do with news or politics. This is where I was talking before, where I created the reason why Google doesn't why my account is not monetized. I don't make any money on this. If you saw a commercial when you turned this on, I didn't get anything. Not even a half of a cent. But there's 4,620,000,000 results, okay, for news. And you could watch whenever you look up anything. You'll see these like 4 billions or in the high millions of results. And I had created a search thing, app. It still exists, but it's just not, it's not active. I mean, it's active, but it's just not, it's a secret. It's a secret search. And it was better than Google because the starting point, the kickoff point was exactly this. The idea that Google's like this, oh, we got this fantastic search engine, right? We'll give you 4 billion results. Well, in your entire lifetime, you couldn't look at you couldn't look at 4,620,000,000 results, right? I mean, it would take you literally, I don't know how, would it be days, weeks, or months to just page through 4 billion, right? That's not even reading them, just like paging through, looking at the headline. So in other words, it's meaningless. It's crazy search. And then to top it off, on the most part, it's paid, they have, it's pay to play so that people push their stories by paying money. And then there's all these fake sites that, somehow work the algorithms, or I don't know if they pay or just work the algorithms constantly. And they get pushed to the top. And you see Google News, of course, is always at the top. Top stories up there. That I'm not sure if that's paid for or not, But anyway, I found a way where I said, look, people are looking, human beings are looking for so many things. And so let's give them the list. Let's give them the choices, the categories. And then let them click on that. And remember, life isn't about news. Let's get that straight too. See, somehow we're in a world where the media has taken such control over top of people's bioelectric brains, right? That the idea of there's an obsession that you must have your morning news with your coffee. So I'm drinking green tea today. Have your morning news with your coffee and breakfast, or listen in the car. And in that morning news is politics. And all that stuff is nonsense. Okay. But here's the funniest. Okay. So forget about the 4 billion results, because there's no way you could do it. So that's a failed, that says nothing about this search engine having any benefit whatsoever. Mine just would have given you the information you wanted in a category. So if you were looking for politics, you could go to the political, click on politics, and there would be the Hill story, whatever. Okay, so this first one with America and a picture of Trump, it's probably, if you're on a small screen, it's hard to see. It says, corrected. Guardian op-ed says Trump is likely Biden's best hope for re-election. The Hill. Now, didn't Biden promise when he was running that he said he would only be president for one term? Do you remember that? All right. Now, do you see... and I'm sure you could read this article and you'll find nothing in there. See, somehow that's like I remember this. I may not be able to remember, some minor little detail here or there because I switch back and forth from, a dozen topics on the show. But I do remember things. And I remember hearing him on multiple occasions because of criticism of his age and his, dementia or whatever it is. And he said, I will only be a one-term president. I will not seek another second term. So what's this? This is an irrelevant story. Who cares about Trump? Because it doesn't matter. Biden's best hope for re-election? He's not running again. He said he wasn't. So if he runs, that'll just be about lie number 432. But then it gets worse. Then we go to Como News, whatever the hell that is. Like I said, I don't watch and read half this shit. Infrastructure bill to help with transit projects, highways, bridges in Washington. Okay. Now, we talk about this every day, and we're going to continue to talk about it. In fact, let me put this here and enlarge this just so, get this across. All right? Well, Google News, Google Nonsense News. Infrastructure bill to help with transit projects, highways, and bridges in Washington. How? How's it going to happen? Aren't they against carbon-based fuels? Okay. How are you going to get a crane and to fix to raise things up to bridges? How are you going to truck in? This seems to be some kind of concrete, maybe big preformed, they call it precast concrete, big precast pieces, that are put into place somehow, raised into place. Some of the concrete's poured, so that means concrete, cement trucks coming, big giant cement trucks. Right? Then, of course, transit projects, right? Highways, all that heavy equipment, all of which runs on carbon-based fuels. None of that stuff's electric. So where are they going to get the carbon-based fuels? In other words, this infrastructure bill, like I said before, and it bears repeating every day if I have to, is going to require the U.S. purchasing oil from Russia, OPEC, which in turn means, and then Iran, and maybe Venezuela. Because they're choking off, they closed down the pipeline from Canada and one of the other pipelines here in the States. They're putting these weird restrictions on all kinds of stuff. So the U.S. has gone from being energy independent to passing this $1 trillion bill that's going to require the use of, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times the amount of carbon-based fuels, as they call them, fossil fuels or whatever, than we've been using in the past. Understand the hypocrisy here. So in the first article, Biden's best hope for re-election, well, that's hypocrisy and a lie. Or at least he's caught. He's not running for re-election. He already said he wasn't. All right? And I'll tell you, I bet you anything, Trump's not running. So that's just like gobbledygook nonsense, ridiculousness. And this infrastructure bill and transit, highways, and bridges, and of course Washington, I guess they're talking Washington, D.C., but whether it's a state of Washington or not, but it's Washington, D.C. So they're going to take care of themselves so they can get, smoother ride to work. But they're going to use carbon-based fuels that they say they're against. Hypocrisy. So we're looking at top news, hypocrisy and lies. Hypocrisy and lies. Hypocrisy and lies. 4 billion results, by the way. Try to go through that. It's a failed company and a failed search engine that happens to make $1 trillion. It's like Apple. They put out these phones. Basically, it's just a camera. It's a camera and a kid's toy with apps on it. While we await the sun to frickin' explode. It is insane. We're going to talk about this for the better part of the show, so just hang in there. Let's continue with the basic news. So, La Palma Volcano, live updates. This is November 8th, today, at 3:58 EST, it says. Eastern Standard Time, they're calling that. So, this emanates from a Spanish site. So this is, you could take this to the bank more or less. Volcano enters 50th day of activity, having begun on the 19th. 18 earthquakes registered in La Palma overnight, with the largest the magnitude of 4. Of course, we know they've had a couple of 5s. And they're still not going back to school, and the earth tremors continue. And some schools are limit on-site classes. I guess they were sending people up there to study this thing, but, this is too scary. So, like I say, there's 2 schools of thought on this. One is that maybe this thing will be calming down after 50 days. That's a long time, though, man, if you think about it. But, it's coming up on 2 months. But even if it does die down, remember, like I said, and if you hadn't seen me yesterday's show, which I didn't really post around social media, I said that, the sheer volume of ash and sulfur dioxide and all those other toxins, are definitely, in tandem or, in the group of all these various volcanoes from around the world, are dimming the planet, are just going to make it, believe me, we're going to have a very cold winter this year. All right. Now, price of Bitcoin has shot up to $66,000 per Bitcoin. 66,000. Imagine that. So as you can see, if you go back to October 18th, I'm not sure, I'll try to enlarge this as big as you can without taking my face out. But if you look, you will see that we right now, October 18th, we were up close to this level, maybe a little bit. We were above this level, slightly above this level. But we're more or less almost at it. And so the fluctuations there since October, it's been pretty much running steady. Profit, when you see a dip, that's profit taking. So we'll probably stay at this rate for a while. Now, people who study the markets, when you see this type of graph, right, this type of thing, without any kind of, without a shock to the market, usually this is a sign of inching up, which means in all likelihood, Bitcoin may well break 70, at some point. So especially if the U.S. economy continues to go down, and if the Christmas holiday season, la-dee-da-da-da-da-dee, right? If the holiday season doesn't prove to be as successful, and if the fourth quarter isn't as good, or which they're predicting, I mean, we know we're into inflation right now. So that will all benefit Bitcoin because it'll be a shelter. So yeah, lucky you if you got Bitcoin, Like I said, I have 0.0001. So my Bitcoin's worth $6.61. That's how much Bitcoin I have. Mine's worth $6.61. And if I only, when I had that Bitcoin, I had the opportunity, if I only would have just put $100 in, because Bitcoin was nothing, I'd have had $60,000 in my account. 60 grand. And you believe you me, I'd have cashed it out. All right, as we move right along, that piece of metal, man. I still got that facing down the barrel of that gun. But let's deal with music early on, because then we'll get into just a discussion and we'll go straight into it. So today's featured album is Jethro Tull, Aqualung. Okay? Jethro Tull, Aqualung. And like I always like to do with most of the albums, apart from where I got in that little live thing the past couple days, which is almost in the same idea that I'm trying to get across here, is the idea that you can listen to an entire record. Again, not like people who put out an album and it's like, here's the hit, and then here's some 3 or 4 goofy songs that are like, the producers kind of like took the hit and like remixed it, or put it through a blender, so to speak, but tried to keep enough of it so that, it kind of sounds like the hit, but it's not. And the album's crappy, and you don't buy the album, you buy the single for $1.29 or 99 cents on iTunes or wherever. But Jethro Tull, Aqualung, like many of the other albums that I featured on here in the morning, is definitely worth revisiting if you recall it. If you've never heard of Jethro Tull or Aqualung, which is quite possible, because this would be, like I say, if you're 40 years old, maybe even 50, you wouldn't know this, which is crazy. It's hard to comprehend that, but it's ridiculous. It's an album, and it's thematic. So you can, this is one of those, like I say, you get in your, if you're lucky enough to have a nice, good, easy chair, unlike my chair, which keeps falling down on me, or, sofa, or just kick back on your bed with a set of headphones, or in a living room with some nice big speakers. Listen to this album. I think this would be best with headphones. Very well produced, right? And of course, it rocks out, but it also has some melodic, songs in it as well, But I mean, Jethro Tull was a rockin' band, and there was a flautist. So it's like one of those, few bands out there that, use the flute for as a rock and roll instrument. But, Locomotive Breath is on this album, But apart from that, there's some other good songs on here. So it's an album you could just listen to and, spend some time. I don't know. Maybe today, if I go up in the attic, I'll listen to Jethro Tull, Aqualung while I'm doing my work up there. Because the weirdest thing is, like, even though I'm only, I'm going after, I might be like re-tarping a little bit some areas, because next weekend's supposed to be like a rainy weekend. So I want to prepare the upstairs. So, in case it's one of those all day raining things and these inevitable leaks that I try to turn a spigot into a trickle, that if it fails, because those all day rains are the worst, because they're relentless and the water just keeps running down like a river, and it just finds its way in places that normally it wouldn't. If you just get a rain, or showers or something like that, sometimes sometimes nothing even comes in. That's the thing. But if it's that all day constant rain, it finds its way in. So I think I'm going to lift up all my containers and put some tarp down under as a safety net, and then put the containers, the water catchment containers, back in place. And then since today, the temperature, what did I say? I have to double check here. It's going to get up to 63 and overnights above 40. So that's fine. So I'll caulk, and that'll give it the 24 to 36 hours or so to even 48 hours to harden up, that caulking to harden up. And that's the plan. That's what I'm going to do. Jethro Tull Aqualung, and I may listen to that. But what I was trying to say is, even though those seem to be like little tasks, I find I go up there, and when I come down, unless there's some kind of weird time warp thing going on in the stairway, when I come back down, it's like an hour or two later. It's like the time just passes up there, and it's crazy. So that's the album of the day, Jethro Tull Aqualung. So if you happen to have one of these kinds of devices, and I'm not sure if Apple's released their citronella candle-looking versions of this, they copied it from Amazon. They should be sued. But either ask your voice assistant to play it, or, the thing is, I want to get another one of those things, and I probably will. I'm going to watch out on Black Friday to see if Google or if Amazon is doing anything crazy, like practically giving them away, like the 3rd generation ones away, because they should be releasing the 5th generation next year. Because I think I believe this is the 4th generation, and I have one of these in my bedroom. And I think I have a 3rd generation in my kitchen is a 3rd generation. The sound out of that's really good. But if for some reason they're selling those things for like $20 and you can make 4 payments of $5, they do stuff like that at Amazon. I might grab another one, and they'll ship it to you set up with your account. So you just literally plug the thing in. You don't have to do anything. I already have the app on my phone and stuff. So I'd like to have that to be able to take with me, because it's Wi-Fi type of thing. And so if I'm going up in the attic, then I could just take my voice assistant with me. And though the wealthy among us, if you have, I think they work in tandem with AT&T. And if you have an AT&T service, you actually can have that device answer the phone. So you have a call coming in from such and such, and you can say, "Yeah, I'll take that call," and then you can just talk, hands-free, speakerphone-ish, with it. And so that's what I'm trying to say. People don't realize this is the future. And when they add AI to this, which I don't know why they're holding it back, because there's no reason to. Right now it's command response. Hey, so-and-so, do this, do that, play this. What time is it? Play this, play Jethro Tull Aqualung. Answer that call. Set a notification, set an alarm. I mean, where's my package? You could even order stuff with it. You could do a lot with it, but it's like command response. So it doesn't give you that AI GPT-3 conversational aspect. If they were to add that to the 5th generation ones on like the bigger model like this, the one that's the ball, it's got a bigger brain, so to speak. Though most of this stuff takes place in the cloud. I'd say almost all of it. Then that would be great. it'd be better than the robot. Like I was saying before about the Tesla robots and stuff. So I guess it's time to let's just bring out the title card and start talking, But yeah, it's like I don't need to have this, this $1 million, or eventually the price will come down to 100-some thousand. And if they're successful, maybe eventually they'll cost the price of a car and you'll be able to finance it. Right. And you'll have insurance on your robot. Right. Nah. No, I want an Echo Dot that has GPT-3. And then eventually, somewhere along the line, we should be, the way technology is moving, GPT-4 should be out. I understand that there's about a 10% improvement in GPT-3, I believe. Not absolutely certain of that. But I try to keep up on the papers and what's going on with this. And you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say GPT-3. You really need to look into AI. And remember, on the other side, and kind of semi-related to, is Meta, Zuckerberg's former Facebook. His billions of dollars he's invested in AR/VR, which is also, and he's tying wants to tie AI into that. So you really have to see that this is the future and this is the tech. And the idea that Amazon has a device with the potential that they could easily add AI to would be a game changer, man. Be a game changer. Because you just be able to, it would be the opportunity to have to be a little conversational, Do you like my backdrop? Do you notice it's a little sparkly and a little livelier back there? You see that? Yeah. Trying to get ready for the holiday season. The holiday season. Now I have some Xmas. I don't know if I have that song, whatever that came. I know it's an Andy Williams song, like that one, right? And that's not enough for them to give me a shot. I have this thing, this Christmas jazz thing, which is pretty crazy. Like, I mean, these are Dave Brubeck. This is the best. Lionel Hampton. Duke Ellington. Wynton Marsalis. See who else we got here. Dexter Gordon. Diana Krall, man, she's my favorite singer. Yeah. Wow. Diana Krall is one of the few people that, I'm pretty much here in my spot, living my life, hoping for longevity, all that jazz. But she's one of the few people that, man, would pull me out. I would love to see her. There's some, I forget, there used to be these small, not used to be, there still are, these kind of semi-small clubs in New York, right? where you could see the likes of Diana Krall. And I've seen a lot of like jazz players and stuff like that up in New York. I used to go to the Blue Note and different places like that. But man, I can't think of the name of this one club. I think I saw Stanley Clark there. And oddly enough, a band I used to manage, a friend of mine, who I haven't spoken to in years, I hope he's still hanging in there doing well, Arthur Goldstein, had a trio. I guess he had a trio play up there in the same place. I can't think of the name of that. It was a very well-known name, if it's just so long ago. But I'd love to see like Diana Krall in a small room like that. You know, the bar off to one side. You're sitting at these little round tables. It's intimate. You know, you're not that far away, you know, from the performers. You know, intimate setting. You know, and who cares what the ticket price is at that point, you know. And, you know, just sipping on a drink or a beer, and that's not even the key. That's not even the most important thing, you know, and you're just right there watching a perform, you know, just being a part, and the music is just around you, you know. Yeah, but Diana Krall, man, she's fantastic. What a voice, you know. And, you know, she's a lovely person, you know. But, yeah. Anyway, so 'tis the season. I think she has a holiday album, Christmas album and stuff like that. So that's worth checking out too. Maybe I'll feature that at one point. Maybe I should make a note. Remember, note taking. Some people say that's a sign of losing your mind too. Well, Einstein had notes all over his freaking walls. Look, if you keep a note, if you need a note to say brush your teeth, yeah, you got a mental problem. Or a note to say take out the garbage or something like that, you know, like the things that you should know, the normal things you know, yeah, you got a problem. But when you're putting notes down for positive things, you don't have a problem. I mean, hey, I'm the first one to admit that, you know, I'm a nutbag and I may be losing my mind. So it's not like I'm apologizing for it, but I'm just in general, you got to put everything in perspective. But anyway, so I got this girl here in this winter coat with these, what they used to call bedroom eyes, right? Man, she looks sweet. Look at that. Yep. I would like to undo that coat. Come on over, honey. What do you got for me in those bags? Blue eyes. 'Tis the season. Is isolationism the future? I could have said our future. Consumerism versus celebration. Is there a difference? What's next? And like I said, then what? I got the then what shirt on. So, you know, let's talk about this today. Now, for some people, you know, they're like, come on, Thanksgiving's not even here. Well, look, you have to accept reality as reality. I mean, things as the way they are. I've had this one container of green tea, you know, just like I don't know, maybe it was a 16-ounce thing. I think this is the third and final day that I've been drinking it. Everything in moderation, which I believe is that on the subtitle? Yeah, everything in moderation. And the idea is that, you know, consumerism versus celebration. You know, there are those out there that and there's been movements from time to time, and people get all caught up in these crazy things, right? Anti-consumerism, I mean, it's still there, anti the holidays, anti this, bring back Christmas, everything's crazy, And we talked about it before, how Halloween starts right after Labor Day and lasts for 2 months. And then the moment Halloween's over, you go in the store and there you see Christmas stuff. And how Thanksgiving is kind of skipped over. And now they're calling it like Friendship Day or something weird like that. All this crazy stuff's going on. But the point of the matter is that's they, And it's like people say, well, who are they? They're nobody. Okay? They're nobody. It's just it's something that's gone viral is what it is. It's a small group of people, and somehow it's gotten picked up by media or social media. Well, it's all media. When I say media these days, encompasses social media. So you've got this, let's see if I can get into a position that's more comfortable. I don't have to keep leaning or stretching my head. So, yeah, to hell with all that stuff, If you want to celebrate a holiday and you want to give someone a gift, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it seems to me, and again, this is just, in my, rather long life, and study of human behavior, and I guess, one could say even anthropology, that gift giving is a part of our makeup, part of our being. A quick aside on that, and I don't know if I've touched on this in other shows, but, there are many people who are in the field of, who study DNA, and this idea where, is felt that heredity and DNA is you're predetermined to have a disease or to be a criminal or to be Mother Teresa or something or whatever. But the idea is, and this has been, there's been some prominent paper studies and papers and people, PhDs, I guess I should say, who've come out with good arguments and very compelling arguments, and literally, in my mind, proven. There was one high-profile case. I forget the guy's name. And it's like, does it? For him it matters, but he's not watching. But there was a guy who was doing a study, who was spearheading a study, some PhD guy, professor of some sort. And he was looking into serial killers, that, some of the worst of the worst. And he was doing this long study, and which eventually led him into their, like, looking at their DNA, right? And at one point, somehow in his lab or something like that, he was looking for some baseline or for some comparison, and he used his own DNA somehow in the mix. And he found out that this common gene that these serial killers had, this was right towards the end of his research and study, he had. But he had this loving family. His history was, he had a happy childhood, and he had never done anything violent, had no criminal record or anything. He was just, or PhD study, trying to do this study, whatever. And of course, initially that was very shocking. And this family was, I told this family about it. They were very supportive and stuff like that. And there's actually some documentary, I think, about that. I forget which one, or it's included in some kind of documentary. And to follow that up, there's also been similar thing. And of course, and there was no problem. The guy's not a serial killer. And to follow it up, I think I mentioned this in a previous show, yesterday maybe even. There's like a certain genes that show that certain women would have a predisposition for breast cancer, but that not all of them get breast cancer. And there's other ones that show, various things in the study, And so that our mapping of the genome and all of this stuff and all the wonderful things that were supposed to come out of this, and the idea of meddling with genes, people talk about this, and we're going to make, the whole test tube babies, and they're going to change all of these things. Well, it's like, you can alter certain things, right? You might be able to change the color of someone's eyes, right? You may be able to do this, that, the other, this eugenics idea or something like that. I mean, it's sickness that people even worry about any of that stuff. But that from a standpoint of, it's the nature versus nurture argument, which is ages old. That the evidence is already, I was going to say mounting up, but it's already mounted up. It's already it's pretty well proven, that case after case after case study have shown that if a child with a genetic disposition to be some kind of, bad egg, so to speak, or for someone to, develop this, that, the other, that it's not totally predetermined. You see, there's a tendency, and there's, it could happen easily with that individual than someone who doesn't have those markers or whatever you want to call it. But generally speaking, a child that is brought up in a loving atmosphere, someone who is fed a healthy diet, right, and exercise, that kind of thing, can overcome, right, or just not, supersede, this sort of genetic disposition, so to speak. And that was just a quick aside I wanted to bring up because, this gets back to this idea of, everything today, it's like a Cole Porter line, these things are passing fancies, like I always say about the smartphone. It's a passing fancy. It's going to be around for another year and a half tops. Nobody wants to believe that. Not nobody, but a lot of people don't want to believe that. But yeah, it is. It's going to change. The things are going to change. I mean, once these things, once they put AI in these, right, or things like this, then that will be the game changer. And when your glasses, your Ray-Ban glasses or whatever they are, and who knows, maybe Apple will surprise people next year and they'll release theirs and it'll be like 2 or 3 steps above what Zuckerberg already invested maybe $100 billion into. But whatever the case may be, who cares who the players are? Who cares how much money was put into it? It's a matter of the final result and how it's going to affect society and ultimately benefit our quality of life. Because that's what everything comes down to that. It's just quality of life. So we want to be able to communicate with people. And if isolationism is our future, which it seems more and more like it is. So sad to see that happen in society. But as long as big pharma and big tech are allowed to run rampant and profit on these plagues, diseases, whatever you want to call them, they're not going to go away. You know, they're not going to cure cancer. They're not going to cure heart disease. They're not going to cure diabetes with a pill. Right? The FDA is not going to suddenly, ban all of those foods or force. Who cares if you put? It's like, when I lived out in L.A., there used to be. I remember in Hollywood walking into some place because I used to smoke cigarettes, but I smoked a specific brand. I was smoking cool menthols at that time, right? And I can remember going in, and the first time I ever saw them was was actually on Hollywood Boulevard in some stupid smoke shop I went into, and they were very popular in the clubs. Death cigarettes, and it had like a skull and crossbones or something on the pack. Death cigarettes. And so the whole idea of, the FDA or the mandating, cigarette smoking will cause, death and all these horrible things. And it had to be bigger and bigger every couple of years till it dominated the package. Well, these guys just went out over the top and just called their cigarettes death cigarettes, and they became popular. Well, I don't smoke anymore. And, smoking, is really not good for you. So, but what I'm trying to get at is that it's not labeling and talking. That's like political posturing. That's like the news. And you're caught up in the news, and you're caught up in memes, and you're caught up in Twitter and discussions and posts and tweets and things that go viral. But that doesn't do anything. The problem is that when you turn on your television and you see an advertisement for a product that is basically is a contributing factor to diabetes, morbid obesity, heart disease, or even cancer, and a litany of other diseases that are either associated with or not associated with that. And so that's those 2 million plus people who die a year in this country of things that potentially could be, they don't have to die from, right? And we have this agency, this FDA, right, that's constantly approving everything, food and drugs, and constantly losing lawsuits by these, getting class action suits against these companies. I mean, the FDA is like not losing them, but these companies that they're approving these drugs and these foods, those companies are getting sued because legal firms are going after them because they've killed people or caused all kinds of things. And so it seems very unlikely to me, with the power of big pharma, that you're going to see the FDA come out and say, this food, in other words, stamp out this food or you see what I mean? In other words, it's the diet, the 21st century diet that's killing us for the most part. Well, that's that. And then it comes down to organic. That's why I grow my own garden, my own food and stuff, is because at least I grow it myself. Because just because a package in a grocery store says organic doesn't mean it's really organic. Because the threshold by the FDA for all these things, such as the words pure, organic, that kind of stuff, the threshold's very low. And the lobby power of big pharma big ag, right? And even big tech, which is involved in this, right? It's too powerful. We have a corporatocracy, and you have to accept that. And bringing in some kind of, like I say, cult hero politician isn't going to change that, and hasn't in the past. Like I said, the swamp there's no such thing as the swamp. Washington is the swamp. There are millions and millions of people working for the bureaucracy, the corporatocracy. You can't eliminate, you would be talking about eliminating everything, literally starting all over. You would have to have what would call a new constitutional convention. It's not going to happen. These are pipe dreams by idealistic, excuse me, student government types. Grade school student government types. But back to the theme of the show and this 'tis the season, right? Why I'm doing this early. And well, this first idea of isolationism is what I was talking about. Chances are, chances are that we're going to be in some shape or form of a lockdown, social distancing, mask wearing, isolationism almost indefinitely. And it's not a laughing matter, but perhaps the worst is yet to come. We're just entering winter now. So people are going to be coming down with colds and flus. And, those numbers are going to be tied to, the thing, right? The thing. So if isolationism is the future, then you've got to figure a way to live in it. And it seems that big tech, like Apple's new iPhone and latest FaceTime, and like I said, if you have Amazon Prime, you'll see you can have a watch party. Like there's a little rectangle that appears on some of the movies and shows. So they're already putting billions of dollars into this idea of people, and of course it's happening with jobs, like most jobs now are like work at home, And so, in this environment, it's not likely to change, suddenly you're going to, next April, oh, okay, it's back to normal. It's not going to be that way. That's not to say that maybe somewhere down the line, it might change. But then again, there's so many billions and hundreds of billions of dollars, if not trillions of dollars in the aggregate being made by this. And it's doing exactly what they want to do, is consolidate all of the power and money into the corporatocracy, so that you just have the Walmarts, the big box stores, the Amazons, it's like, and everything goes through them. And then if you want to communicate and social media, you're going to use this, like you're going to have a watch party and you're going to watch a sports game or a movie or binge watch a TV show with your so-called friends, social media friends or relatives from who are scattered all over the place. And you're going to, it'll all be tied into FaceTime or watch parties or whatever, or AR, VR. You see? The idea of being present. That's what, they're doing at Meta, Facebook, Meta. So billions and billions of dollars being invested in this is pointing to that it's not likely that this is going to end anytime in the near future, meaning years, because the companies are investing in this. So let's take that as, and pack that, a little piece of data in your bioelectric brain as a reality. Looks like that's the way it's going to be. So then you get into this consumerism versus celebration, which I mentioned before. It's on the card. You got these people who are anti-consumerism, as if they're fighting something. But like I was saying, from an anthropological viewpoint, celebrations go back to the very beginning of recorded history, time that we know. All right. Because we have no idea. And I'm not going to get into that discussion. That's for another show. But as far as we know, okay, our reaching memories, or somehow memories that can be connected in some sort of line that we can trust as reality, as opposed to something that's just been taught to us and we just have to take their word for it. But, even Christmas itself, is an adaptation, the idea of the celebration of multiple holidays, ancient holidays. All of these things tied in, different religions, other holidays, even non-denominational holidays, have all been adapted because people were celebrating something. They were celebrating the solstice, or they were celebrating harvest. They were celebrating, some sort of thing. Celebration is a part of human existence. And same with gift giving, right? This has been going on, like I say, forever, as far as we know, right? In our forever, not in necessarily the forever, whatever that may be. So I look at people and I go, the people who are caught up in buying junk, bright and shiny objects for the sake of bright and shiny objects, or going, acting like lemmings and just following the leader, and everyone, this is a must-have thing, just like must-see TV. Yeah, well, I'm against that. That's preposterous. It's idiotic. It's, it's just downright stupidity. But gift giving, which is a form of consumerism, right? It's, it's a reality of life. And so when I say versus celebration here, it's not really, this is just saying, is it consumerism versus celebration? No, it's not really. It's just part of our makeup. So, it's the holiday season, like it or not. And the holiday season begins like after Labor Day. And people get into this, Halloween, and forget the fact that it's like, people want to say, oh, this is demonic witchcraft, and then people want to change Thanksgiving from, being thanks because they got some thing about pilgrims or something like that. And it's like, no, it's a feast. And feasting and celebrations have been a part of our, of humanity from the very beginning. All right. And it's the idea of family, get together, right? Celebration and feast from harvest time, And it's just bring people together in person and, have that sense of community and to be really genuinely social. In other words, you're not having Thanksgiving through FaceTime. But people will this year, especially with this latest Apple development. And it's sad. Google Duo, Microsoft has something. I forget what they call that one. And then there's Skype, good old Skype, and Zoom. Is it Zoom or something? I don't. And it's just sad. It just takes the whole thing away. And they talk about infrastructure. And I had that news on earlier. What was I kind of called it the news. Infrastructure bill will help transit projects and highways and bridges in Washington. Of course, the politicians will take care of themselves. And other key cities, by the powers, the powers that be, the people in power at the time, they'll give this money to themselves and they'll take care of their ride to work is smooth and fast, or they could commute. But they're not going to help us commute so we can get together for Thanksgiving. You see? I have family that's not really that far away, but just too far away to get to. But they don't, when I say they, I mean the powers that be, refuse. And even though there are rail lines and there are roadways and all kinds of ways in which I should be able to get to that spot, they're not. None of these infrastructure bills are going to put a high-speed line or even just add a passenger car to a rail line that goes to one of those places, or even a good old-fashioned bus. Right? Because it's not about, they don't care about us and our quality of life, and isolationism is our future. So they want us to telecommute. They want us to basically use FaceTime, Duo, Skype or whatever, in order to communicate with one another. Yet studies have shown, particularly with children and infants, but it goes on throughout life, that we actually need to hug. We need to have human contact. And that people that have human contact are healthier and live longer. There have been studies on that. That's why even people who have pets and stuff, and companionship of another living thing, are sometimes a little bit healthier and happier. And the coldness of the screen, and this, FaceTime is, dehumanizing and unhealthy. Not to mention it's literally unhealthy with the electromagnetic radiation coming off of all these devices and things. But it's just unhealthy. You need a hug. And they're telling us, do the elbow thing or something, Don't even shake hands. Shaking hands is a thing of the past. Wear your mask. Don't hug. Stay 6 feet apart. Or don't even leave your house. I'm sure there's people who still haven't left their house. My poor mother's in the hospital right now. She's 88 years old because she's basically been in lockdown for 2 years. So she hasn't been able to get even minor exercise. Exercise is important, but as you get older, you don't have to exercise a lot. You just have to be mobile. You just have to move around and get around. And exercise, it has been shown in some studies, and you can research this yourself. Don't take my word for it. But studies have shown that as you age, exercise actually is more beneficial, gives more immediate benefits, as far as, affecting all sorts of things in the body, than it is to someone like in their 20s or 30s. So, in your 20s and 30s, or someone in playing sports or competing or running marathons, they have to do this vigorous exercise and stuff, to get their body in these positions, where they're more machine than human. But as you get older, just the idea of moving around and walking, some people, that's like some of the people's fear of exercise, and this is just my anecdotal thing, but to tell you, but I've often tell people this. I'm not a jogger, and I've heard many people talk about reasons why you shouldn't jog over the age of, like, say 40 or 45 or so, because all the shaking and stuff that's, and things inside the body. And then as the body ages, you don't have you're not kind of held together the way you used to be, as you get into middle age and stuff. But that you still need to exercise, and exercise is moving around, moving around. And I noticed myself, like I say, this is anecdotal, that just walking a mile or two down to the grocery store and back, carrying these bags back up or whatever, which I'm going to do in about a half hour from now or so, I find that not only, unless I pig out on something stupid, like sit down and eat ice cream or something, which I'm not planning on, that tomorrow, because I'm on this weight thing right now where I want to take off another 5 pounds. This is a goal. It's just like I get into these things, for health reasons and for clothes reasons. It's just that, like, sometimes you just put on a few pounds, you put on 5 or 10 pounds, and you're like, shit, how did that happen? Right. So I've taken about 5 off, but I want to take 5 more off. But, if all goes well, my walk down there, when I weigh myself tomorrow morning, despite what I eat today, I will be down a pound or 2. It sounds crazy. But when you're over, when you have that excess weight on you that you've just put on, it's fairly easy to take that off, and then you reach a certain body equilibrium. And that's where it becomes difficult, because once your body gets used to a certain, like, status quo, like you're such and such a weight, it's like, man, you can't, it's really virtually impossible to get that off. You'd literally have to go to talk to your doctor and someone who specializes in nutrition and, and can tell you that, or some sort of physical therapist that can guide you. I'm talking about people over a certain age, not young people. Younger, you could go jog or you could do this stuff, lift weights and all that stuff. But older people can't do that. It could be more harmful for their body. Your body doesn't recover as well. The whole idea of building muscle and stuff like that is that, and building strength, is that you're technically damaging the muscle, and then the muscle's, is building, is repairing itself and coming back stronger, or whatever. So, this idea. So anyway, that's just another reason why you need to get out of your house and move around. And I don't have that as a line item on this title card, but I mean, it follows suit with what I'm trying to get at, this isolationism. Is you got to at least a couple times a week get out and walk if you're over a certain age or any age. You don't have to be like caught up in something as if you have to kill yourself, and strain yourself and cause damage to your body, right? No. Just exercise could mean moving around. You move around, going for a walk and things like that. And being isolated and trapped inside of a cubicle, an apartment, or even a house is just no way to go. Excuse me. And you need to have a hug. You need to have social interaction. You need to be around people. That's very important. It's part of being human. It's like I said, it's been proven to make us healthier and add to longevity. And if not even longevity, that a more youthfulness and a better quality of life for while you are alive. In other words, staying young as you age. It's not about, there's all kinds of people trying to do things, in life where they talk about these telomeres, the length of telomeres and certain kind of diets and stuff like that. But what they've shown is that, there's fields of study in there, but that's just like earlier I started off with the genome and whatnot, your chromosomes, genetics, your DNA, RNA, and all that stuff. Yeah, there's people clowning around with all that stuff. And there's certain things they can do and there's certain things they can't do. But there's a lot that you can do just with diet, just with walking, eating healthy foods, right? And having social interaction and positive social interaction, enjoying family. That's what I mean, celebration and the feast, right? This bounty of healthy food, celebration, laughter with friends and family, right? Instead of people trying to put all these negative things attached to it. Well, Thanksgiving, this is like against the Indians and the Pilgrims. It's like, forget about that. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. That's nonsense. That's hogwash. It's a celebration. And yeah, the Europeans brought it over with them, but it had nothing to do with conquest or some kind of weird thing. It was just goes to show how old the idea of celebration was. If you want to put it in that perspective, right? And besides, that's kind of a fairy tale anyway, that whole Pilgrims Indian thing. Seems to me anyway. And whether it is or isn't doesn't really matter. But if you want to get together, you should be getting together with your family and friends on Thanksgiving or any time. Doesn't have to be Thanksgiving. But instead, Thanksgiving is like the early Black Friday sales are going to begin Thanksgiving Day. People show up for a Thanksgiving holiday, those who do that, and they just can't wait to get out of the house and go somewhere. This isn't anything new. It used to be, I can remember in the old days, people would like come home and then they'd go to the mall when the mall was the place to be. Now the malls are like ghost towns. It's like people can't sit still. They don't understand the idea of conversation, being with people, hanging out, right? Social interaction. So I guess that's what I'm saying. Consumerism versus celebration, is there a difference? And the answer is no, not really, because gift giving, camaraderie, festival, celebration, social interaction It's what it's all about. It's the same. And so if you can do that, do it. Find a way to do it somehow. Because otherwise, isolation is the future. And if isolationism is the future, then what's next for humanity? Right? So is it going to be some cold, hard reality? And are we going to be stuck with this, or depending on your income, a robot or a device like this as your friend, confidant? You know? Sad. It's really sad when you think about it. So I know this year, and I try to do it every year, is I can't really travel because I don't, like I said, I unfortunately, I let my license expire. And I'm kind of living at a level of, I am where I am, and I've had my share of some health problems and this, that, the other. So it's like, I'm not traveling, and I'm not going to go see Diana Krall somewhere. And she's not coming to this town, I can guarantee you, So, you in effect, I guess isolationism is in my future, whether I like it or not. And, so I try to put gifts together, even though I've limited, funds. And, the best gift giving is when it takes something away from, when you do without in order to give. Or you make that thing. Some people today might laugh at something like that. But, in days gone by, someone would create something for someone and give a Christmas present or some kind of birthday present or whatever. And it would be a gift of, they would make them, carve them a thing, make them whatever their talent was, creativity. And even if they weren't creative in the sense of what we call art or even arts and crafts, it would still be something that they, put effort into, or they sacrificed for, like did without. I could go to the store and I can buy myself, a certain thing. But I could also save that money and use that to buy someone a gift. Something that they need too, not a bright and shiny object or something that this is the thing this year that everyone's giving. You know what I mean? It's another reason to cut the cord with TV, because of commercials and, all that kind of garbage. It's like the old thing, if you've got kids, toddlers, and you could have some kind of the latest, fanciest, whatever the heck it is, advertised thing. And these are toddlers who are like basically just barely learning to speak type of thing, sitting on the floor type of toddlers, crawling around, that kind of thing. Maybe walking, but not walking that great yet. And you give them some goofy items like pots and pans, things that make noise, stuff that they could bang together or whatever. They could sit there on the floor and entertain themselves. And as long as you're not one of those people that gets upset with the child making noise, they're happier than anything. You could go out and spend $100 on something that this is the must-have toy for your toddler this year. Everybody's buying it. It was advertised on the morning shows. and the kid breaks it, and then you're like, oh my God, I paid $100 for that, Or the kid just like holds it, plays with it for a little while, and moves away from it, and then looks for something to bang around with, because the kid just really wants to, bang pots and pans or goofy things, So it doesn't matter what the gift is. It doesn't matter what the items are. It's, it's just the idea of giving, and it's the idea of thinking about it, knowing the person and getting something that that person will actually like or needs, Sometimes, need is another thing. Practical gifts, right? Practical gifts. People would be afraid to do that. But if someone if someone is like broke, there might be something that's very practical that they need, And I can't give them, some kind of household thing or some kind of thing for this. That, I have to give them a bright and shiny object. Otherwise, they'll be embarrassed when they open the present. Quite to the contrary. The person would be like, you know me, man. You really know me. Thank you. I needed that. I didn't need the bright and shiny object. I got enough of those. Right? And this fear of celebration and feast and stuff like that, that's also bothers me. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a beautiful thing. Camaraderie, getting together, feasting, celebration. Yeah, you don't have to feel guilty about it. Well, there are people starving in other parts. Yeah. And do your best, and it's a pity that, we spend through our taxes, that billions of dollars go to countries where there's starvation and stuff, and people donate to foundations, and these foundations use them nothing more than money laundering schemes. If you think of all the billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars that have been funneled through foundations into the UN and have gone into places like Africa and South America, India, Southeast Asia, and other parts of the world where people are starving or don't have clean water or access to, readily access to certain things. I've been hearing this since I was in grade school, and we used to give money to the pagan babies, they would call them. Crazy stuff. We used to, kids would give a quarter and stuff, and families would donate. Decades and decades and decades and decades. And, life, haven't uplifted these areas of people in starvation or don't have access to clean water or, proper diets, even housing and stuff. But one thing they do is, they're starting to really get cell phones and stuff like that in Africa and stuff. I've been reading about that. They're trying to they'll make sure they get a cell phone. But, they'll have to walk, 14 miles to carry water back to their, their dirt floored hut or something. So, you do, if you're in a position for generosity and to share, for the unfortunate, do it. I always say, if I won the lottery ticket, and won a bunch of money, I'd be like a secret Santa type of guy. I'd go out. I'd be the guy giving $100 bills out to people. I'd be looking at people, look them in the eye. You don't want to give $100 to a panhandler, like those professional panhandlers in LA and New York and San Francisco and stuff. The guys who make hundreds of dollars a day, a couple $1,000s a month, and are living in a tent rent free. And, defecating on the streets and stuff, but they're basically, making thousands of dollars panhandling. No, not them. I'm looking at the person that's, the single mom that's, they would like to have, a Thanksgiving for her daughter or son or family, or travel to go see her parents and take her child with her. I'd like to slip her $100, something like that. Say, look here, or $200, whatever, if I had it. Here. Go, go visit your family and take your daughter with you and have a little extra, buy a treat for your daughter and bring something with you, to give to the family, and just make it a nice, beautiful celebration, right? So that's consumerism versus celebration. Is there a difference? No, there's no difference. Not if it's done right. But, what's next? Happiness should be the goal. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And like I say, happiness is quality of life. That's happiness. Your quality of life. Yeah, because happiness is such a weird word. It's a vague word. Happiness. Are you happy? It's like, that's a strange thing to ask. Am I happy? I don't know. Ask me what my quality of life is. And that's a different story. So, I think that, 'tis the season to be conscious of people's quality of life and your own quality of life. And that's what it's all about. And that's why the politicians and the corporatocracy and all these people, they're missing it. They just don't get it. Because if technology and all of these things and the bright and shiny object and stuff don't improve the quality of life of an individual or a society as a whole, then it's wasted. And it's counterproductive, in fact, and it's just bringing us down. And it's creating, it's unhealthy, right, for us to have bad quality of life. So, just to sum this up, is that there's nothing wrong with that woman in this picture, okay? I'm not criticizing that. I'm not criticizing shopping. If you have the ability to buy and give, by all means, buy and give. And if that also includes having things for yourself too that make you happy and improve your quality of life, then by all means do so. And if you have the means to have a feast, a celebration, host one, or go to one, by all means do so. Because it's all about quality of life. And 'tis the season. So what? It's early, Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa is, are a month away or so. Actually, Hanukkah's early this year. But the idea is that get together if you can. Celebrate, right? Give if you can. And don't feel guilty if you can't. Because a true person that cares for you, who loves you, knows if you are unable to give something, has no expectations. I have no expectations, to get something from somebody on a holiday. You see? It's not what it's about. Some people they feel cheated or dissed or looked over. No. Sometimes just a phone call. Sometimes just a well wish, right? So our society's changed, and what's next is who knows. But it seems to me it's going to be more isolationism. And, I just hope that more people who are at a level of where they're getting by, struggling or just getting by, that they can have some celebration, be happy, have their quality of life improved, or at least have a decent enough quality of life that they could say they are happy. And it's just something to think about, happiness, quality of life, and the absurdity of, the meaninglessness of politics and the news. They have nothing to, those things are foreign, are so unrelated. Yet our whole society seems to revolve around politics and the news. The cult of personality of political figures, news media figures, media people, whether they're entertainers or news readers. They have nothing to do, they're not improving our quality of life. They're not improving, they're not making us happy. I think, I watch Bill Maher and he makes me laugh. I'm happy. No, that's not happiness. The show's over. What's your quality of life like now? Well, quality of life is how you live your life. Quality of life is how long you can remain youthful in the sense of healthy throughout your time on this planet. Quality of life isn't living to be, 80 or 90 or 100 years old, but being bent over and lame, stricken with arthritis and in and out of the hospital. That's not quality of life. That's not success. Right? No. So a good diet, a little bit of exercise. Don't feel compelled. You don't have to go to the gym if you're old. You just walk. If you're even stuck inside a place, just walk around. Do you know what I mean? Walk around. That's enough. Just get the joints and the blood flowing, things moving, That's good. That's what you need to do. All right? Don't let people tell you need to at a certain age do weight training. You know what I mean? Come on. You're not running a marathon, right? I mean, there are some people that old people that they've done it their whole life. That's a different story. You don't change, It's like the same with diets. If you've been eating a certain kind of food your entire life, your body kind of adapts to how it processes those foods and stuff. I don't care what any nutritionist tries to shove down your throat. The fact of the matter is you see that constantly. And it has to do with ethnicity too as well, Certain cultures eat certain things. And there's no universal diet, You don't throw a Mediterranean diet onto someone from Eastern Europe, just like you don't throw an Eastern Europe diet onto someone from, South America. Okay? In other words, we have a physical makeup and we're used to a certain things. What works for you and keeps you healthy, do it. Don't abuse yourself. Don't eat junk, right? And like I say, exercise, but move around. Don't kill yourself. Don't overdo it, Talk to your doctor. And if your doctor says something that sounds wacky, get a second opinion. Talk to a nutritionist if you know one or have someone like that near you. And if they say something like pop 17 different vitamin capsules, get a second opinion or ask your doctor before you do it. But by all means, pursue happiness. Life, liberty, and your pursuit of happiness. The greatest phrase ever. And happiness really is quality of life. And you got to have a good quality of life. And right now, the powers that be, the corporatocracy, are trying to take away that quality of life and replace it with something artificial. You see? Artificial. Imitation of life. And we can't let that happen. And you have the power to live a real life, not an imitation of life. And you can do that with the existing thing. You just have to think. You have to contemplate and really look, soul search. It's like in my book, I have like wherever it is over in this side. I have lists of like how you stay on budget and make lists of things you like and dislike and stuff. You got to like kind of figure things out. Take some time for yourself. Take some time for living, as that song goes. We featured that album by The Association several weeks ago. But 'tis the season to enjoy. 'Tis the season to celebrate. 'Tis the season to try to improve your quality of life and the quality of life for people around you the best you can within your means, right? That's the most important thing. Anyway, with that, I'm going to end this because I'm going to walk to the grocery store and get some things I need. Visit my site, TonyCaravanLive.com, ROCKFLUX.com. I've got a holiday shirt. If you click on that girl, not on here right now, but when you go to ROCKFLUX.com, scroll down, you'll see a bunch of squares. And there's one there that has this, like I call it the Christmas moose, but it's like a reindeer. And that's a great shirt for the holiday season. You might want to get one of those. And get my book in print on Amazon. It's only $9.95. And remember, it's going to be a cold winter. So on the great solar stuff, I have these power packs, backup power. And you don't have to get a solar panel with those. You could charge them from your house. So you have it ready just in case the power goes out. Then you got these things and you could plug your stuff into it. And you're going to have a somewhat reasonable, normal life in this electronic age where everything is plugged in and requires electricity. Or get a shirt. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it.